All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me again. Today, I have another soccer interview with goalie from Freehold Township, Ava Madoff. Ava, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Ava is a junior at Freehold High School. Very deep soccer program over at Freehold. She led her team. You guys made it to group finals, right?
Yes.
Yes, and lost in a shootout in the semis in the short conference tournament against Toms River North. Very good team. So, Ava, how's everything going? How are you dealing with the virus and school and training?
It's kind of crazy, but you have to look at it one of two ways. Either you can dwell on it or you can turn it into some time to better yourself and take the time to relax. It's very different like from what I'm used to because I'm a very go 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 person. So I'm taking the time to relax. Online schooling is different, staying on top of it. And luckily, like every Tuesday and Thursday, my academy team, we get together on Zoom and we're able to do like virtual sessions on there. So aside from that, I'm trying to like keep my fitness up, basically just doing everything I possibly could.
Yeah, it's probably a little tougher being a goalie to stay on top.
Yeah, definitely.
Than somebody on the field that could do dribbling drills and whatnot. Goalie, you need to have shots. I mean, there's some stuff you could do, but it's hard to get the feel.
Yeah.
I got a question. My last interview, I interviewed somebody from Marlboro, and she said there really was no structure with the school work. Basically, she could schedule her own day. Where I know in the private schools you had to be available 9 to 2 for online class. To be online classes. Is Freehold the same way as Marlboro?
Yeah, so basically every morning I wake up to like 10 Google Classroom notifications, and basically the teachers just give you your assignment and you can do them whenever you want. So that's honestly, I like it because I get to plan my entire day, but I know like other people are having issues with it.
I mean, when I was talking to her last week, she was with your mindset. She liked it, and personally, it gives everyone practice how to time manage better. Your own time. How to do everything. Where instead, 9 to 2 you're doing schoolwork. You could plan your whole day, and it's in the long run. When you get to college, it'll help you plan your time management better.
Yeah, I agree.
So get to the good stuff, soccer and other things. How old were you when you started playing soccer?
I was 5 years old when I started playing rec, but honestly, I've probably been touching a soccer ball since I could walk, if I'm being honest with that. But yeah, 5 years old was when I started officially.
Did you play any other sports when you were younger?
I actually played lacrosse from 2nd to 5th grade. Then I quit to mainly focus on soccer, but luckily I was able to pick it up again in high school. So now I currently play two sports, soccer and lacrosse.
Yeah, that's good. It stinks that lacrosse was canceled this past season.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in high school, lacrosse did not exist for high school sports, so I was looking to catch a few games, see what it's all about.
It's very different, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's what I talked to some of the reporters, and that's the sense I got. Do you have any siblings, and do they play any sports?
I actually have two older sisters. So Kayla's 24 and Alexa's 21. Like me, they both also played soccer, but they did a lot of other sports also. But my parents didn't even bother trying other sports with me because I was so infatuated with soccer. And I grew up on the sideline of a soccer field, basically. So I guess that's where it all started. They were also field players for soccer. So being a goalie in my family was something very new. But as of right now, they don't play any sports anymore.
What did they help you with your development? Your sisters, being older.
I mean, definitely, because I was able to see, firsthand, like their training sessions, their games, and I was able to mature as a player very early because of that.
I want to talk about your parents. I've met your dad. Big
Yeah.
supporter. Always at your game. What have they meant to you, in your development?
Yeah, so I know that every single child says the same exact thing, but I really do believe that I have the most supportive parents ever. In terms of my development, when I was 9 and decided that I really did want to be a goalkeeper and that's what I wanted to do, they went out of their way to make sure I can get all the necessary training I needed. And keep in mind, like that gets expensive because they had to, pay for my team as it was and then also the additional goalie training. So that's something that I always really appreciate. And they also drive me everywhere I need to go, practice, games, everywhere. And without them, I really don't think I would be half of the goalkeeper I am. So I really do owe it all to them.
Yeah, we talked, during the state playoff run, talking to your father, telling me he had to use sick days or personal days to get to, state playoffs. They scheduled them a little
Yeah.
earlier because, Mike get done a little earlier. It's always a good thing, your parents doing what they have to do to get, to show support for whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, you have any soccer role models that you looked up to?
Yeah, so Hope Solo was definitely one of my most influential, people of my childhood. She still really is. I actually was luckily able to meet her a couple years ago. I met her at like I don't even remember where it was. It was a Bed Bath and Beyond. She was there. She did like a little meet and greet, and I had like a really weird reaction. I like could not stop crying. I was uncontrollably crying because it was such a full circle moment for me. So I was able to, actually meet her, and that was like amazing. It was like everything I'd ever lived for was like now complete. It was the coolest thing ever.
That's great. I know in the mid 90s, because I was helping coach my sister's team, we met the whole national team, Mia Hamm, Michelle Akers, Brianna Scurry, the goalie, Lily. It was pretty cool, especially for my sister's team, because those were all their role models. Yeah, it's always good, especially meeting a national team member is always something special.
Yeah.
Who are some of the teams you played for? Club, rec ball, traveling.
Yeah. So when I was 8, I started travel soccer with what I could say is the best childhood team I could ever ask for, and that was the Freehold Flash. Um, then when I was 11, I made probably one of the biggest decisions of my childhood, and I decided to go, up a level and play for the Wildcats. They're now PSA, so they're not the Wildcats anymore, but that team was amazing. We won like everything. We won like state titles, we won tournaments. It was amazing. And then when I was 13, our team went to Cedar Stars, and that's where I'm currently still playing.
Now, Cedar Stars is one of the big academies in New Jersey soccer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who are some of the coaches, through the years that you've had?
Okay, so starting off, Coach Tom Field coached me when I was on the Freehold Flash, and he honestly was just the perfect first coach because he was really encouraging and he was so passionate about his team, and he taught me a lot of really important lessons, not only in life but on the field as well. And then once I went to the Wildcats, I had another Coach Tom Napoli. And again, he was a great coach. Not too soon after I joined the Wildcats, we got a new coach, and that was Coach Martin. And he coached me for about 4 years. One of the best trainers I have ever had. And then after him, there was Coach Rick. He was only my coach for like maybe a season, but he was also really great. And then lastly, now there's Coach Ryan Tetro. He's my current coach. He's so motivational, and especially with the whole pandemic, he's so positive. And we'll talk about it a little later, but even through my injury, he was there every step of the way with me and was patient. And just overall, all of my coaches have made such like a huge impact on my life, and I'm really lucky to say I've never ever had a bad coach. So that's
I mean,
awesome.
yeah, that's big because, one bad coach could, turn you off to a sport and make you not want to play. I've seen it firsthand. I see it through basketball. So it's always good when you got coaches that are, stand behind you and, help motivate you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, other than academy, you play for Freehold Township now, Freehold. big school, always pretty talented when it comes to soccer. What were some goals you might have had, going into, trying out your freshman year, and some goals you had your freshman year?
Yeah, so I knew my place coming into the program. I had known that there were a lot of, upperclassmen goalkeepers ahead of me. And that was from like the, summer trainings. I knew that there were other people in front of me. And obviously I didn't get discouraged by that. I still worked as hard as I could, but I did respect them and the fact that they were upperclassmen and I was just a freshman. But, my first real goal was to at least make the freshman team. And then my second was to build excellent relationships with, coaches and the other upperclassmen. And luckily, I could say I was successful. My freshman team went undefeated. And then I even got pulled up to, practice with varsity during states. And then from there, I even got to play 9 minutes in one of the first rounds of states when we were up by a lot. It was kind of like a nice little confidence boost. And honestly, to say the least, my freshman year was a movie. We were state champs. And, even though I wasn't a part of varsity for the whole season, I was, happy to be a part of it for a short amount of time. And it was just an amazing feeling.
I mean, it's still, a great experience, being state champs and winning that. Who are some upperclassmen, people that basketball people, if you're a freshman, if you're, really good freshman, you usually, play right away basketball, but soccer, it's always been, upperclassmen, you get, underclassmen have to earn their spot and work their way. Who are some of the upperclassmen that helped you along your way?
Yeah, so I really do consider myself lucky that I was able to play with Alessia LaRosa. She now plays for Rowan, and I could very, very, very confidently say that she is the funniest, kindest, and most talented goalkeeper I've ever met. She always had a smile on her face, set such a great example for me. And, playing this year without her was really hard because she was such a huge role model for me. But at the end of the day, I'm lucky to have known her and played with her.
Was she a junior when you were a freshman?
Yes.
So you got the 2 seasons with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that, that's good getting to watch her for 2 seasons and learning from that.
Yeah.
How about your sophomore year? What kind of did you have? What goals and what kind of accomplishments?
Yeah. My sophomore year was a lot more than I expected, and it had kind of threw me for a loop. So Alessia was now a senior. And, unfortunately, she had faced a bad injury with her knee. So it was my turn to step up to the plate. And honestly, I'd never been so nervous because I had such big shoes to fill. Unexperienced, I really didn't know what to expect, but my coaches were confident in me. And, my main goal was to, get the experience I would eventually need for my junior year. And again, I respected my place and knew that my position in the net was not permanent and I needed to do the best I could until, Alessia got back.
How did your team end up doing that season?
We actually had lost in the quarterfinals against Hunterdon Central, and that was where our season ended.
Yeah,
So it was kind of deja vu, but, unfortunately, that was how it ended.
yeah. Now, basketball, South Jersey, non-public A, it's considered a group of death, and that how to use in World Cup terms. Central Jersey Group 4 for girls soccer is probably the group of death with Hunterdon Central. You got East Brunswick, free, your team. It's just a loaded division, very tough group. If you can win the group, Central Jersey Group 4, there's a good chance you can move on and win the state. I mean, even though you win Central Jersey, you end up having to go up against Eastern, which is, powerhouse.
Yeah.
Now, going into your junior year, I saw you play, quite often. Freeholders are very fun team to watch this past season. I really enjoyed watching them, which is why I did catch so many of your games this season. What were some goals you had going into your junior season?
Yeah, so my main goal was basically to just work as hard as I possibly could. Alessia had graduated, and it was my turn to step up. I worked on everything I really had to, jumping, sprinting, and even like things like communication. I knew I had to be the best goalkeeper I possibly could to fill Alessia's shoes. And, again, being more of a leader was another huge goal for me. I wanted to be able to earn the respect of my teammates and be able to freely speak about, any issues we were having and things like that.
Now, you talk about wanting to be a leader. One of the things I noticed, and I saw a lot of teams play last season. You were probably the most vocal goalie I saw all season.
Thank you.
Communicating, not even just communicating with your defense, communicating with your midfield, communicating with the forwards. When they're attacking.
Hmm.
Um, Is that something you learned, or just which is it's good to see a goalie. You want to see a goalie communicating. How do you become such a vocal leader on the field?
Yeah. So, many people that know me, or even if you don't know me, many know I'm not, exactly favored on the height scale. I'm pretty much 5'3" on a good day. So I'm not saying that height is the most important factor of goalkeeping, but it definitely helps a lot. And growing up, I knew that I had to bring something different to the table since I was lacking the height so much. But I do owe it a lot to my coaches for making it a priority and teaching me the right things to say. And this style is really important to me and something I take seriously. I direct my teammates, but I also encourage them on the field because not every comment a goalkeeper makes should be negative. There needs to be a balance so you can earn that respect and that trust.
I agree. And you talk about your height. One of the best saves I saw all season was when you guys played for Borough. I think overtime just started, and sun was in your eye, high
Mhm.
shot.
Yeah.
You timed it just perfectly. Punched it over in the net, which to me it seemed like the ball hung a little bit up in the air, which made it even more impressive, making that save. And then of course you had the sun in your eye. It was just you did such a good job, this past season watching you.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
I want to talk a little, Coach Patterson. Um, the first game I saw you guys play, you played Howell at Howell,
Mhm.
a little bit rainy out, and I noticed, sitting watching a game when the ball was on the ground, you guys were controlling when you were passing and then when Howell was getting the ball in the air, moving the ball downfield in the air, they were kind of controlling the game. And halftime, I was kind of where coach was talking to you, and he, first thing he said is keep the ball on the ground. And exactly what I was thinking and sitting in the stands. Talk a little bit about Coach Patterson because he seems like a really good coach and knows how to make adjustments to the team.
Yeah, playing for Coach Patterson is really special. He also coached my sisters, which
Hmm.
is important to me, and I've gained that trust over the years, even not having him directly as my coach, but with my sisters. So obviously he's had an amazing program these past few years, and he really does know what he's doing. But the side that I see is that he could be really tough sometimes, but he does it with the best intention. He's the perfect balance between a coach and a friend, and he's there to get on you when you need it, but he's also there to talk you through things that you might have trouble with. um, and it means a lot to me to know how supportive and confident he is in me, because sometimes I do lack that in myself, but I'm really proud to say that I do play for Coach Patterson.
Yeah, I mean, as kid, coach, when they're riding you got to realize it's not personal. It's just that they see that you have more in there than what you're doing on the field at that particular time.
Hmm.
Most, a lot of players, not a lot of players, but some players take it personal. The coach hates me. It's the coach doesn't really hate anybody. They're just trying to get more out of you. Um, Now I want to talk about a couple games this past season. I thought the St. Rose game in the short conference tournament was one of the best games, both teams. It was really fun to be at that game. You guys were trailing, came back, and ended up winning in double overtime. Talk a little bit about that St. Rose game in the short conference tournament.
Yeah, of course. So mentally, that game was actually really tough because we were home, and it actually happened to be the same day as our, football homecoming. So
Oh
there
yeah,
were
don't remind
so
me.
many, yeah, there were so many distractions. There was the cookout and everything like that. So a lot of different things, on all of our minds. But I had known that they did have a couple of really good players, so that was a little nerve wracking as well. But there were many games that we had gotten into overtime and we lost, such as Allentown. So it was really, really, really cool. Finally, winning when we went into overtime. And I remember when Ryan scored that goal. I had never sprinted so fast in my entire life to go hug everyone, because winning like that is like an amazing feeling. And it really was, a turning point for us in our season. It was just a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, I thought both your teams were seeded a little too low. I thought both your teams were better. Probably both teams I would have in the top five, and the seeding 8-9 game. That's a really tough 8-9 game. So it was fun to watch. Back and forth game. Moving on, you guys made it to the semis. You guys lost a heartbreaker at Toms River North in a shootout. Is that the game you end up getting hurt?
Yeah.
Well, first talk about the game and going to a shootout and how nerve-wracking that was.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk a little bit about your injury.
Okay, so honestly, that was probably one of the worst games of my life. Not because we lost or that I played bad or anything like that, but it was like a really big turning point for me personally. So, later into the second half, I got into the collision, and I messed up my ankle. And I knew I messed it up, but, there was so much adrenaline in that game that literally nothing was taking me out of it. And, it was my first major injury in all my soccer career. So, you know what? I took it like a champ and I stood in that net despite all the pain I was in. Honestly, it was a blur for me, but when we went into PKs, I was ridiculously nervous. The one thing I really remember, before the PKs was my coaches and my teammates just being so overly supportive of me because they knew I was hurt. They knew that I was trying my best. But the one thing that Coach Patterson said to me, and I still, hear it, is he said, no matter what, I'm proud of you. And that is something amazing to hear. As a goalkeeper, PKs are really hard and they're really mentally draining. And, I had been able to get really close to all the shots that were taken, but it just wasn't good enough. And, I did really try my hardest. I take pride in that. But, do I wish we had gotten a better result? Of course. But I do know that I left it on the field and as well as my teammates.
Yeah, I ended up not staying that whole game, but that had to be, tough. And I hate the fact that during playoffs times that a team it's decided by goal kicks. I wish it would just keep going to overtime until
Yeah.
for a full win. It really doesn't tell you who the better team is, going to penalty kicks.
Agreed.
Now, you get hurt during that game, and you end up finishing the season playing through states. We'll talk about states, but talk a little bit about injury, what exactly happened, and the outcome of the injury.
Yeah, sure. So, a normal person probably would have went and got an X-ray or went to the hospital at least. But I knew that if I did go see a doctor, that was going to be the end of it. I remember the day after it happened, I woke up early to go to work, and I took a step off my bed and I just collapsed to the floor. I could not put any weight on my foot, but I there was no other choice for me. I had to deal with it, and eventually, I was able to walk on it, which was good. So my philosophy, as long as I can walk on it, I'm playing. And I did. I played the whole 6 weeks. I even went to North Carolina with my academy team after the season was over, and I played. And then I got home and went to the doctor, and it turned out I had, I fractured my talus initially in that Toms River North game, but over time it got way worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of recovery did you have to do?
Yeah. So I had to go to PT, 3 to 4 days a week, really work on the strength because I was in a boot for maybe a month and a half. I was in a boot.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had some kind of, dystrophy issues with that. So I had to build that strength. And then I was able to, I don't know if you've ever seen them, but the anti-gravity treadmills. Yeah. So
Yes.
I was able to, start running on that. And eventually, you know, I made a recovery. I did it.
Now, crazy playing. You played all through states
Mm-hmm.
with this injury. Your team had a nice state run, ended up losing to Hunter and Central, which they ended up beating Eastern. So it tells you how good of a team
Oh yeah,
Hunter and Central were.
definitely.
But you guys took them to the limit, lost in overtime. talk a little bit about that game because that was another fun game to watch.
Yeah, so 100 and Central, obviously our whole team was kind of just in so much, not shock, but again, like I said before, it was deja vu from last season. So again, we had gotten disrespected in the press all year. And I really had no clue what to expect from the state tournament. I believed in our ability, but I wasn't sure, other people did, like the press. But we ended up doing well. We made it to 100 and Central. And personally, as a team and myself, individually, I think that was just the best game all year. The vibes were they were different, and if you were there, you really like felt that. And in the first few minutes, we actually had a few chances on their net. And from that, we just knew. We were like, okay, we can actually do this, It wasn't going to be like last year where we had lost 2-0. We were like hanging on. They had a lot of really talented players. And from the start, I made a couple saves that definitely could have been goals. So I was really thankful that overall we were just able to take them like as far as we could, considering their reputation and their record. But I'm going to be the one to say it. Losing in overtime was really rough. We had held on for so long, and then off of, in my opinion, a scrappy goal, we had lost it all. And I was very upset after we lost, but, I did keep a strong face because I was proud. And overall, I was just really proud of our performance and, the fight that we put. I think it showed a lot about our personalities as a team, and it was amazing.
I like how you say scrappy goal.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't a normal, shot on goal, but, they found a way to win. I want to talk about a few of your players. Freehold,
sure.
very, very good team. Next year, I think if I do a preseason poll right now, I'd probably say you guys are 2, maybe right behind RBC. I would say. I would have to look at the rosters, but with you got a good core coming back, so I would put you probably 2 behind RBC because I think RBC has almost everyone coming back. Talk about a couple of players like Ryan, who's such a good goal scorer. Knows how to, gets down the field pretty fast. The seniors Anna and Athena, who I think Athena is so underrated. Because she could do everything on the field.
Yeah.
So talk about those 3 first.
So, our team has a lot of amazing players. I can proudly say that. And I wanted to start a little bit maybe with the freshmen. So Kayla and Gabby, they are just so good. They really are. And I'm honestly jealous of how good they are at such, a young age. Like freshmen, they could honestly go up against a senior and you wouldn't even know they were freshmen. They're so good. I'm really excited to see what they can bring, their sophomore year. And I just have a good feeling about it. So now, yeah.
Real quick, Kayla. I like Kayla is like her ball movement, passing, getting to the open spot. I think by the time she's a senior, she's going to be in the conversation for, player of the year.
No doubt.
So, didn't mean to interrupt
No, it's okay. So then I'll move on to Athena. So Athena is a player that everybody just knows, like, she won't disappoint. When the ball's on her side, you could take like a deep breath, and you'll know that at the end of the day, she'll come through with the ball. She's a good leader as well. So somebody that I, look up to. I know she's going to go to High Point and, do amazing things. So I'm really excited to see, what she has in the future for her. And then Ryan. So Ryan is someone who I've actually gotten, close with this year on and off the field. We sit next to each other in history class. So, we do get to talk about things other than soccer. So I'm happy that our relationship, has gotten, more than the field. So she is incredibly fast and so talented. Probably one of the fastest people I've ever seen. And she's always someone who, comes through, even with 10 seconds left, like she did in the Toms River North game. Yeah, and then talking a little bit about Anna, she is incredible. Great footwork, speed. She has an amazing free kick, killer shot. She's gotten us to win many games that we were faced with. And in tight situations, she comes on top, she scores, she gets it done. And then just one more player I wanted to talk about is Gabby Zuchek. So Gabby Z and I have been playing together since my Wildcats days. So we take it way back. She's one of my best friends. You know, I love having her in the back line with me, and she's just an incredible player with so much talent.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably the anchor of the
Yeah, for
defense, I would
sure.
have to say. And she had the game tying goal again, I think, against St.
Yes,
Rose,
the
right? The
header.
header. Yeah. So she's tall. She's got height on
Hmm.
people, so that's always an advantage, especially on corner kicks and free kicks like
Yeah.
that. So like I said, you got a good core coming back on this season. So I think it's going to be your team's going to go
Yeah,
far.
I'm excited.
Now, let's talk about your senior year. What kind of like first, individual goals and then some team
Yeah,
goals.
so I really just want to leave it on the field. You know, I want to be a leader for the team and leave on a good note. I want the future of this team to be, successful, but I know they will. And eventually, as hard as it is, it's going to be time to pass the torch. And I just really want the best for the program. You know, individually, I want to focus on, being a leader to my team. Um, Also, some little goals, hopefully to get a little bit more recognition from the press and maybe even, get voted for A North or, stuff like that. But also something really important is a little bit of my confidence, It's a topic I think a lot of players face, but especially at the end of the season, I think my confidence was boosted a lot because I knew how I could play injured, and I thought if I could play this way injured, I can definitely play it, not injured. Um, so that was really cool. But I want to continue that for the season. I want to feel like confident in the way I play. So those are some individual goals for myself.
Yeah, I think your team goals, your team should be able to make a good run in the shore conference tournament. And I think Group 4 too, with the core coming back, you're probably going to end up running into Huntington
Yeah,
Central again.
probably.
Because they have a good core coming back
Hmm.
as well. And individual goals, I don't, I could see you in the conversation for one of the all shore teams, that and definitely a
Hmm.
North, with your style and the way you play goalie. The short conference is just, especially last season, was so loaded with
Yeah.
goalies. It's amazing. It's amazing the goalie talent. Every game I went to, goalie seems to impress me somehow. Which is, I guess, testament to how good the short conference. I had a referee come up to me after one of the shore conference tournament games, and probably the best ref I saw all season. And I went up to him and I said, I just want to say that you did a great job refing. I go, it was probably one of the few games that, you did a good job. You explained your calls and, you protected the players, which to me, for soccer, that should be the
Yeah.
number one goal as a ref, is protect the players. You could blow calls all you want, but just
Hmm.
protect the players. And his exact words was, he used to ref college, but he said, ref in the shore, it's the most fun he ever has because the talent level of the girls is unbelievable. And this is coming from a college ref, so it just tells you how good the shore conference
Hmm.
soccer is. Um, how your future? Do you know what you want to study when you get
Yeah,
to
I have a
college?
pretty good idea. The ultimate plan is I would love to be an occupational therapist, but within that there's
Oh,
like kinesiology and psychology. So ultimately I could study that, if occupationally doesn't work out like from the shoot.
but sounds like too much schoolwork for me. Um, get ready to wrap this up. What advice would you give, to younger kids that want to be goalies? Because being a goalie. Actually, did we even talk about why you became a goalie? I think we
Yeah, we
skipped
might
that.
have. I could talk about it if you want me to.
Yeah, because well, and then we could lead into the advice there. What goalie is it's a position not many people want to play, similar to like catcher on the
Yeah.
baseball field. What made you want to be a
Yeah,
goalie?
actually I remember this like it was yesterday. I was maybe 8 or 9. And like every travel team, everybody, took turns on the goal. We went like alphabetically. So, and a little fun fact about me, I was a forward and I just loved scoring goals. Like I was a goal junkie. Like that was all I wanted to do was just score, score, score. As like every kid, you know. The last place
Yeah.
I wanted to be was in the net, but you know, I took one for the team, and it was an indoor league at Sports Zone, and we were in an older age group. So honestly, like I'm not saying this like be cocky in any way, but I really was like a natural. You know, I was flying everywhere and diving and making these incredible saves, and you know, I was always a very hyper child, so that wasn't a surprise. But you know, when I saw how much I made an impact on the field, you know, being a goalie, I just wanted to keep playing there. And it was a selfless position, especially at that age, since you know you can't score the goals that every kid wants to score. But you know, I learned that sacrifice was one of the most prominent factors of a great team, and that's what made me want to be a goalie.
Okay. What advice would you give kids that are playing goalie?
Yeah.
You know, if you could think for yourself when you were 8 or 9.
So just keep pushing yourself, you know, always strive to be better, and never get comfortable where you are. And understand that goalkeepers at literally every level always have room for improvement. You know, keep a good attitude and be thankful for the opportunities you're given. Treat every training session or game like it's your last. You know, it really goes by fast. And, you know, playing at the elite level takes a lot of hard work. But if you're really passionate about being a great goalkeeper, I promise you that it will work out. You know, through it all, be strong. Mentally, playing at an elite level could be exhausting. You know, also, I'm going to be a little hypocritical, but listen to your body, know when you need a break, you know, but also, you know, take all criticism with a smile. Personally, I struggle with this since I'm really hard on myself. But if you just take a second to listen, really listen, you will learn a whole bunch. You know, respect your coaches and teammates. Lastly, as long as you're dedicated and passionate, you are destined to succeed, you know. And I wish all, you know, youth goalkeepers the best. You know, you can do it.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
for
you so
joining
much
me,
for having
Ava.
me. This was great.
Um, yeah. And, I can't wait till everyone's allowed to get back on the soccer fields. And I made a vow, even if they don't let fans, I will be at the first shore conference game.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks like things are starting to open up. I heard that PDA might start practicing soon
Yeah, you
outside.
know, as soon as we get to go,
Yeah.
we're out there.
Yeah. So I know some AAU basketball clubs have started practicing outside under some people's chagrin, but I think eventually we just need to move on and
Yeah,
get
like
on
be
with our lives.
optimistic about it, you know. And we can only hope for the best.
Yes. So I wish you luck next season,
Yeah,
and
thank you so
thanks for
much
joining me.
again. I appreciate it.